on the way to becoming a two-tiered society, composed of a few winners and a larger group of Americans left behind.
They're opening prisons in all the countries around the world, and they're sending all of them sorry son of a bitches across our southern border. Joe Biden is letting our country get invaded right now.
In an uproar over all the neocons who lied about the Iraq war with no consequences. Someone must tell me why there isn't a similar uproar over all the Republicans who lied about Obamacare with no consequences.
200 years ago, if it was happening, our military would have been on our southern border killing those son of a bitches.
Has anybody come across even one death panel? The next liberal to tell a Republican, you're entitled to your own opinion, but not your own facts.
Biden is letting them come across on purpose, ruining this country. He thinks when them damn migrants come across, they all gonna vote Democrat. They tearing this country to hell and back.
Should really just admit they've never seen Fox News.
I want to talk about Robert Reich. I know, nobody wants to hear that. Most of you are thinking, who the fuck is that? But he knows more about zombies than anybody in the world.
Zombies can be a real problem. But what's even more annoying than actual undead corpses stumbling through the streets to devour the living are zombie myths, falsehoods that keep crawling back no matter how many times they're laid to rest.
Which is why their talking points that have been disproven remain. Like a guest who's been asked to leave a party but does not.
So really, what I should have said was, I want to talk about zombies.
Whose anger and whose disillusionment is easily manipulated.
Rule for one party, the Republican Party, is that when they get caught in a lie, they don't have to stop telling it. They said Obamacare would use death panels. It doesn't. They said it was a government takeover. Insurance industry is making record profits. They said it covered illegals. It doesn't. They said it was a job killer.
I want to send our thoughts and prayers.
It hasn't been. They said they were elves who bake cookies in trees.
These are the three zombie myths that eat at me the most. Number one, the myth of trickle-down economics.
In the most sweeping overhaul of tax code in our nation's history.
But it's the largest tax cut in the history of our country.
And he warned us about this not too long ago.
The old middle class has become an anxious class, worried not only about sustaining their incomes, but also about keeping their jobs and their health insurance. On a recent national poll, 55% of American adults said they no longer believe that you can build a better life for yourself and your family by working hard and playing by the rules. In the years after World War II, America built the biggest middle class in world history on the foundation of that bargain.
What am I saying? It was a lifetime ago. My God, even I couldn't vote. It was obvious.
For sure, Obama also told a lie when he said everybody who likes their health care plan can keep it. And for about 2% of the population, that did turn out to be false. The difference is he stopped saying it.
We turned our hard work into homes and cars and health care and pensions, and the middle class grew and prospered and enriched further as the barriers to race and class and gender slowly began to fall, just began to fall. Poverty reached an historic low, and the sense of possibility, that wonderful sense of possibility, grew stronger.
He stepped up and said, you're right, my bad, because he understands there's this thing called observable reality. But on the Republican side, observable reality needs more study.
But then something happened. Around 15 years ago, this American dream began to fade. And as it faded, middle-class families tried every means they had of holding on. Spouses went to work. When did you find that great increase in women in the workforce? In the late 1970s, in the late 1980s. Middle-class families notwithstanding these coping mechanisms, middle-class families have not been able to regain their footing. They push these coping mechanisms about as far as they can go, and they still feel that they are losing the American dream.
And fentanyl, human smuggling, weapons, they're doing everything they can to run this damn country. We are getting invaded. 200 years ago, we'd have had our army down on our southern border killing those sons of bitches. We have no borders no more. Biden is running this damn country. It's time to stand up and do something about it. Send the military down there and let them mow the son of a bitches down.
It reminds me of a horror movie where you think you've killed the lie, but it won't stay dead. Which is why I call them zombie lies.
We are on the way to becoming a two-tiered society, composed of a few winners and a larger group of Americans left behind, whose anger and whose disillusionment is easily manipulated. It's unbottled. Mass resentment can poison the very fabric of society, the moral integrity of a society, replacing ambition with envy, replacing tolerance with hate. Today, the targets of that rage are immigrants and welfare mothers and government officials and gays and an ill-defined counterculture. But as the middle class continues to erode, who will be the targets tomorrow?
Yes, zombie lies. Remember, fracking doesn't cause earthquakes? Zombie lie, so stop saying it. Voter fraud? We studied it. It's not an actual problem. Stop zombie lying about it.
Every time I think we finally buried this debunked, stinking corpse of an idea, it rises from the grave. Conservatives still claim tax cuts for the rich are the best thing for the economy because the rich are supposedly job creators. They keep trying this, yet it never works. Trump promised his tax cuts for the rich would lead to $4,000 annual raises for workers. It didn't happen.
Trickle-down economics.
This is very controversial. Does anyone know what Vice President Bush called this in 1980? Anyone? Something DOO economics. Voodoo economics.
Their entire economic philosophy, cut taxes for the rich and it trickles down, is a zombie lie.
And we cannot overlook labor unions, whose decline accounts for as much as 20% of the increase in wage inequality among men.
What Reagan's own vice president called voodoo economics. Just changing of some accounting paperwork to make it look like we made more money in the first year. And we didn't. We took in a lot less money.
All these zombie lies are still out there roaming the countryside, neither alive nor dead, like Dick Cheney.
Reagan's tax cuts for the rich, middle-class wage growth slowed to a lifeless crawl. And the Bush tax cuts for the rich didn't trickle down either.
Like Dick Cheney. I mean, we think we've eradicated one, but it turns out it's just lying dormant in a cave full of bat blood, like the Ebola virus, or Dick Cheney.
It doesn't take a lot of brains to see why trickle-down economics doesn't work. It's because the rich aren't the real job creators. Middle-class Americans are. Consumer spending is nearly 70% of the economy. So the economy does better when more people have more money to spend.
Dick Cheney, who did not even bother in his recent return from the dead to update the lies he told about Iraq the first time.
Campaign of terror, murder, mayhem.
And now, the government's in massive deficits. And massive debt. Ronald Reagan doubled it. George W. Bush doubled that. And Trump sealed it forever. My God. No president could have spent that much. And I don't want to hear this bullshit that it's about COVID. Yeah, that's about $2 trillion of it. The other 5 went to the richest 400 families in America. About 2,200 people got all of it.
Go yourself. Is that clear?
There is no shame in their game.
But mark my words. If American industry fails to forge such a compact with their workers, it will jeopardize American competitiveness in decades to come. If American business continues to pursue short-term profits at the price of insecurity and falling living standards for a large portion of our society, it will sooner or later reap the bitter harvests of popular rage.
Don't know him at all. Don't know what he's about.
Number 2, the myth of the free market.
The best way to build is to have the free market do it.
Whenever lawmakers try to protect the public by putting limits on the power of corporations in the private sector, conservatives summon this zombie myth from the grave.
I've been hearing this shit since I was a little kid.
They claim government regulations will interfere with the natural free market. But there's no free market in nature. Notice how you've never seen a National Geographic special about the free market? The market cannot exist without a government to organize and enforce it.
If there was a free market, there wouldn't be taxes. If there was a free market, I could sell this cup right here after filling it with gasoline. You know. Don't worry, it's only got water in it now.
Yes, because what they do is they pass a zombie lie down to dumber and dumber people who believe it more and more.
Wait, let me do it like this. That was for the peanut gallery.
When I walk on White House grounds, God walks on White House grounds. When I walked in the river, God walked in the river. When I go into the dry cleaner, that dry cleaning place becomes holy.
Paulson may be over the one about climate change being a hoax, but it's still good enough for Sean Hannity, who then gets quoted by Michelle Bachmann, who forms the intellectual core of the thinking of Victoria Jackson.
If there was a true free market, we would still have ladders that fell apart. There wouldn't be OSHA. There wouldn't be the Environmental Protection Agency. But that's what it's about. They don't want a free market. What they want is free reign to do whatever the fuck they want.
And when you think the zombie lie has finally gone to die at the idea hospice of the absolutely stupidest people on earth, there it is being retweeted by Donald Trump.
The question isn't whether the government will get involved in the market, but how and whose interests will be protected. The rich want to rig the rules of the market in their favor, which is why they keep reviving this decrepit argument.
To save a creature that's on the verge of extinction. I'm talking, of course, about the Republican politician who believes in science. And with that in mind, tonight we present Zombie Lies Environmental Edition.
I want to sell some water that's got a little bit of, oil in it. They should be allowed to do that because, the free market.
And are prefaced by the phrase, I'm not a scientist. Jeb Bush says that. So does Marco Rubio. John Boehner says, I'm not qualified to debate science. And Rick Perry says, oh my God, my hands are gone. Wait, they're in my... Wait, they're in my pocket.
You know what I'm talking about.
I do.
They want to tell people that they're going to take care of their funds for their retirement. And then put it all on 29 black. They can do that. Because, it's a free market.
Rick also says, I don't believe man-made global warming is settled in science.
He's dead. He's dead as a doornail.
Why did he shoot him?
Bush's twist is to say it is not unanimous among scientists. Because that feeds the needs more study myth that was pioneered by a
New dishwashers
discredited halfwit, or as Jeb calls him, my brother.
that give you more water so you can actually wash a boo, a car.
What Republicans want is no regulation at all. So-called free market. That's the thing about Republicans. They're so good at naming things. My God, they're so good at naming things.
There will always be some mountain man somewhere with a PhD in bird calls who says temperature spikes are caused by God farts.
Shoot me, but you'll have to kill us all. Something.
Panic about the Earth warming in the 70s, everyone was told global cooling was a really big problem. No, not everyone, just one article in Newsweek that for the deniers is the Dewey defeats Truman of science.
See, the problem with Democrats, well, one of the problems with Democrats, one of the many problems with Democrats, is that, like these long-ass videos that I'm sure you get sick of, because they are, some of them pretty long.
Absolutely perfect.
Newsweek story. It didn't say an overwhelming consensus of scientists thought the Earth was cooling. It said a few were floating that theory.
It was perfect.
Mike Huckabee remembers it. When I was in college, all the literature at that time from the scientific community said we were going to freeze to death.
Democrats can't fit things on a little bumper sticker. Republicans can. Build that wall. Perfect. Republicans are great at that. Lock her up. Perfect. You ever seen a Democratic bumper sticker? Equal rights for equal pay and a workable living wage are the way for America. That does not fit.
But my favorite is the one that says, even though there may be a scientific consensus, consensuses have been wrong before. Ted Cruz says, just look at Galileo.
So you end up in a situation where nobody ever gets the fucking message.
Number 3, the myth that the rich got rich all by themselves.
A media legend and self-made billionaire.
To a self-made CEO billionaire.
I started off in Brooklyn. My father gave me a small loan of $1 million. I want nothing.
So I'll try to make shorter videos, but I digress.
Bullshit. I want nothing. I said it twice.
Oh, Ted, I worked with Galileo.
Don't know him very well. I have not spoken to him much.
Galileo was a friend of mine. You, sir, are no Galileo.
This will never go away as long as people are somehow convinced that A, they're gonna get rich soon, which is just a lie, and B, rich people built America. Rich people didn't build America. Hell, slaves built most of it. Well, I guess technically rich people did own the slaves. So, well, there you go. See, I was wrong the whole time. Never mind. Lock it up. Shut it down.
Joe Biden broke the law, and she didn't get indicted.
Fuck it.
But as long as you want to look at Galileo, the consensus he disproved was that the sun orbits the Earth, which wasn't a scientific consensus. It was a Bible myth from caveman. He was the scientist in the... You know what?
The middle class built America. The middle class builds an economy. The fact is, Republicans used to say that the rising tide raises all boats. What they forget to tell you is that it swamps most small craft who are not prepared to ride the tide.
This is one of the oldest tales from the crypt. But the biggest predictor of somebody's future income and wealth is the income and wealth of the family they're born into. About 60% of all wealth in America is inherited.
Well, good luck, because the zombie lies aren't for the voters. They're for the donors who make their money killing the planet. The question is not why today's politicians suck more than ever, it's who they're sucking more than ever.
The reality is, Republicans don't want a rising tide. They want their wave to be enormous. Fuck the rest of the people. They want to bring in their, ordered on the internet Transylvanian wives or whatever the fuck she is. And it's not just Trump. A lot of them do this. Order their wives from overseas, bring them over here, and then scream about chain migration. Bring their wives over here, make some fucking babies who, anchor babies, obviously. Just like his daddy did, Trump did the same thing. With multiple women. But like most Republicans, no matter what their heritage is, like most issues, it's okay for them, just not for those people.
On top of that, rich Americans' incomes are made possible by taxpayer-funded infrastructure, education, scientific research, and national security, as well as by corporate subsidies and tax loopholes, and most importantly, by the sweat of average workers.
If a Republican's daughter gets knocked up, you can bet your ass Daddy's gonna take care of that. But if a black girl in Michigan needs an abortion because she got raped, fuck that little bitch. And it's because they want more workers for their corporations, and they want to make sure, pardon my language, that they want to keep the black man down. And the way you do that, the way you keep all poor people down, the way you keep women in check, keep that bitch pregnant.
Because he thinks that's the only way he can get elected. Isn't it pathetic?
3 of these myths keep spreading widely and rapidly like a zombie infection, and they threaten the health and stability of our society.
Because the reality is, most guys are pieces of shit. I mean, take it from me. My whole family's waiting for me right now while I'm making a really long video. Think about the children, Zachariah. Well, only after I make one more point. No, I'm kidding. I'm Zachariah, Lone Star Liberal. Y'all take it easy.
The Koch brothers are in the oil business, and they're pledging almost $1 billion in this election.
Thoughts and prayers to the family.
Help prevent the zombie apocalypse by sharing this video wherever you see these zombies lurking.
For that kind of money, Cruz and Bush and the rest of them will say anything. It's what their fellow prostitutes in the sex industry call the girlfriend experience.